gentlemen, I have a problem. Look at your watches and your timers right now. It's already 8:30 plus. I was supposed to start my segment at 8:20. And usually this segment of a workshop is conducted in 90 minutes. So I do have a problem. Without much ado, can I just dive straight in and start the art of the start? I can see all you guys here on screen. So I'm going to ask for some interaction by waving your hands to my question. How many of you here have had an opportunity to speak and you fumbled at the start? Raise your hands or wave your hands. Thank you, I can see you guys. And why is it so important that your start is done well? Studies have shown that 80% of bad speeches are due to bad starters. So why is your start of your speech so important? Because, as Will Rogers says, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Attention is now the new currency of the information age, and it's a scarce commodity. So your first few seconds of a speech is absolutely critical in capturing audience attention. So, how many of you have heard some of the strategies or the techniques of my start? I actually gave you 4. Today, I will give you 5 strategies of the art of the start, and I hope that you're taking down notes. At the end of this segment, which I hope to squeeze within 20 minutes, I'm going to ask my team to send in the slide for these 5 strategies. Are you guys ready? If you're ready, can you just give me a key in a digital wave or applause, and you guys can just wave so that I can see and know that you're ready to start. Thank you. Some of you are all blank. I don't know whether there are real humans behind that. It's okay. So I'm going to share with you the 5 strategies, and each one will be preceded with a demonstration. So the first S, I'm going to imagine myself, and you guys need to imagine that I'm just been introduced as a speaker, and I will start with this strategy. I have a problem. I have too little time to share too much content. So what is that, guys? Yeah, I got a shock. That's right, Ben. It's called a shocking statement. Where you come on and you startle everybody with an action or behavior, or a sound in my case, or an impactful statement. For example, there was a Toastmaster, a female Toastmaster, who contested in an international speech contest. And she went like that when she came out. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've got a dirty secret to tell all of you. And all the guys were all ears. A dirty secret. And she went on to share about her irritable bowel syndrome. There was a pastor in my former church who went on stage, on the pulpit, addressing the whole congregation, about 500 churchgoers, and his first statement was this: dear brothers and sisters, I've just found out that 95% of all of you have had sex before. And everybody was just looking around, just looking at who the remaining 5% were. And then he proceeded to unpack his sermon topic. Today, I want to tell each one of you what pornography does to your mind. To your mind. 95% of those who have had sex before. So these are called shocking or startling openers, and they grab immediate attention. Number 2, the second S. It was a dark, cold night, with the winds howling and the leaves rustling on the floor. So ladies and gentlemen, what is this called?
Story.
It's a story. It's a story or a narrative. And to keep things short, especially at the start of your speeches, You can even call it an anecdote. An anecdote. So stories can come in two forms. Fictitious, like mine, where you do some storytelling and describe visually, auditorially what happens. Or it could be non-fictitious, meaning real. Like 20 years ago, I was first introduced to a Toastmasters chapter meeting. And when I was there for my first time, I was invited to attempt the table topics, which is an impromptu speaking segment. And guess who my evaluator was? It was none other than John Sir. And by the way, this is true. That's why it's non-fictitious. A story draws in audience attention into your story plot, and they get mesmerized and immersed into what you're going to say afterwards. The third one, which is AJ. Once upon a time, a man declared to his girlfriend and professed his love and commitment to her. He said, "I love you so much that I will commit myself to go through hell for you." After that, they were married, and today he's going through hell for her. So that is called a joke. And the power of a joke at the start of your speech diffuses tension, causes people to smile or grin, and it actually prepares the heart and mind to receive the content afterward. So a joke is very powerful, but you need to prepare in advance and rehearse so that it can have the greatest impact. The fourth one is a cue. So let me try this out and demonstrate it to you. Ladies and gentlemen, how many of you would like to be successful here? Raise your hands. How many of you would like to be wise and rich? Raise your hands. And how many of you would want to be better speakers? Raise your hands. So this is a question. A question at the start of your speech is a very good device to capture fluency in the processing of their minds, because it intrigues, it piques interest, and ultimately your listeners are subconsciously trying to answer your question. So tonight, I'm going to give you 3 types of questions. Take notes. The first one is exactly what I did earlier on, which is what we call a rhetorical question. So there are 3 types of questions you can start, and the first one is rhetorical. Rhetorical sometimes is called a leading question. Obviously, people would like to say yes, they want to be rich, they want to be successful and more effective as a speaker. So it's a no-brainer. But the whole point of it behind is to draw engagement, so that people either raise their hands or they will answer you, and that causes high level of engagement. The second type of question is this. How many of you here in this room have been to Japan before? About half. How many of you are parents? So this type of questions are what we call polling questions, where you poll to get a sense of who your participants or audience are in a room. And by collecting this information through the answers, you're able to start to target or to taper and customize your content towards their needs. So this is the polling type of questions. The last type of questions is this. Let me ask you. If you only have 1 day left to live your life, how will you live it? And then you pause. So what kind of question is this? It's called a reflective question. Reflective questions are great openers because it causes people to start thinking deeply about themselves and how it aligns to your topic or your content. How about this one? What would you do if you could do anything in life? So you're appealing to the aspirational level of their thinking, of their thoughts. How about this question? What is standing in the way between you and your dreams? So it forces people to start thinking of the gaps by which you can start offering solutions to their needs later on in your speech. That is the questioning technique. The last cue is this. Ladies and gentlemen, did you know that 77% of all human race actually fear public speaking? And this is cited in the psychology, the journals of psychology, which is called glossophobia. So what is that? I'm actually quoting. This is a quote, or a citation, or a reference. And by the way, that quote was really a statistical quote. 77% of all people have a fear of public speaking. How about this one? Winston Churchill once said, "A good speech is like a woman's dress." Jocelyn, come here for a while. Everybody, I want you to see her dress, if possible. A good speech is like a woman's dress. Short enough to entice, but long enough to cover the essentials. So that is a quote. And a quote is akin to borrowing authority because it was said by Winston Churchill, someone that we admire and respect. So what quotes do you have that you can borrow to start your speech, especially if it's relevant and is highly appropriate to your content? Because it adds credibility and authority. In Hokkien, we call it tompang authority.
That's Malay.
Okay. All right, so there you have it. Shock, story, jokes, question, and quote. But that's not it. To those of you who are a little bit more advanced, you can do what we call a combi. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples right now, and then you guys use the chat box to type in what kind of combination of these 5 am I demonstrating. So the first one. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a confession. In my earlier days, and guys, I'm really coming up here and being vulnerable. In my earlier years, I was a man trapped in a woman's body until she gave birth to me. So that is a shocking, startling statement, but also a joke.
Shocking joke.
Double whammy.
Next. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you call a deer who lost its eyes?
No idea.
Today, I will talk about ideas that you need to possess in the 21st century. Can you see how that starts? And it's a joke and a combination of a joke and a question. Alright? Ladies and gentlemen, what do you call a blind deer who is also lame?
No idea, Lee.
Still no idea. But don't worry, I have ideas for your next project presentation. So that's a joke and a question. How about this one? How many of you here, ladies and gentlemen, you have ever been in love before? Let's talk about Valentine's Day. You've been in love before? Raise your hands. All you married people, better raise your hands. How many of you here, you were once in love but no longer in love? Raise your hands. All you married people, better put down your hands. So it's a joke and a question, right? And it's called the joke question combi. Next. One night, there were 3 men. Wendy's husband, Jasmine's husband, and Imelda's husband, who went to the bar to complain about their wives. They were bemoaning the fact that whenever they quarreled, the wives would beat them up.
Oh.
Wendy's husband said to the rest of them, "Whenever my wife quarrels with me, at the end of the day, I get thrown out into the living room to sleep." Jasmine's husband said, "Oh, you ain't got nothing yet. Whenever I quarrel with my wife, I got kicked out and thrown out of the house." Finally, Imelda's husband spoke up. "Whenever we quarrel, At the end of it, she comes crawling on her hands and knees towards me. So all of them look at her and said, wow, what did she say? She said, come up from under the bed and fight like a man to cover. So that is a combination of what? A story as well as a joke or an anecdote. Slightly longer but well prepared, packs a punch.
I thought it was a quote.
So to end, let me just end. Use any one of these 5 to make your opening of your speeches sticky, memorable, and more impactful. I would like to end with a quote that says this. When you create a good first impression, you are actually creating a lasting impression. Back to you, Toastmaster of the evening.
I'm really very impressed. The next